name is Eric Obuh, aka Vocal Slender, from Lagos, Nigeria. We are in the dumpsite. You can see now the people, the scavengers, are following the bus to select some scrap from the refuse. And very soon, I'm joining them. So what I'm doing, I'm selecting with the iron, I'm selecting the rubber. I'm going to another vehicle.
Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Matter. Today we're talking about the personal life story of Mr. Eric Obuh, who you might have seen before, but you know, he's got such an intriguing story that it can't but touch us and help us. Eric, you're welcome to The Heart of the Matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If you don't recognize his face, Eric was the subject of a documentary done by BBC. BBC came into his world, and for a living, he used to scavenge. But he was also, I don't know whether to say secretly or openly, a music composer, writer, and in doing the documentary about how he was making a living, they discovered his talent and aired it on the documentary. And the story for Eric changed. Eric, you lived in Ajegunle.
Yes.
Were you born in Ajegunle, or you migrated to Ajegunle from some other part of the country?
No, I was born in Ajegunle.
And education?
Ajegunle.
Okay, and how far did you go with your education?
I dropped out from school after I had an accident when I was in GSS3. It was not, it's a very, very bad memory because my dad couldn't pay our rent and was chased out. I'm a boy who never get to know my mom until I went to bury my dad 2006 at the village. So I remember I was living in a church then for 2 years. When I had that accident, I was very skinny. They call me slender. The church was afraid that I may lose my life. And because of that, they chased me and my elder brother out of the church. And we were sleeping in Wima bus stop. That was where we sleep. But God had to find a way. And my brother was a very good dancer. We went and danced in Federal Palace with met some friends. And they said, okay, we have some place to stay. Why don't you move in? So I spent like 6 months sleeping in the bus stop before we moved to where my friends stay in Goriola Street. So life have always been tough to me from when I was young.
And in order to be able to sustain yourself, you were scavenging. Tell us a little bit about life as a scavenger.
Yeah, life as in Ajegunle then, because I live in Ora Street, very close to the first dump in Ajegunle. It lies in Lagos State. I won't say the first, so I go up to see that there was a huge dump in our backyard. So most of the youth, the elder ones, the youth then, they do either if they're not into robbery or conductor, they are scavenging. Those ones are the street boys. So it's something, that's why I said if you don't guide the child, you start emulating the people he sees around.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these are the people that will come, hey, Slender, go and buy me this, go and buy me this. So they become a role model to me when I was growing up. And so I see scavenging then as nothing. It's just a job. So, but I didn't do it. I didn't take it as a job then. I didn't take it as a job. I just once. But what I do then was, in my backyard we have a very big swamp. During the dry season, the place is dried up. So I plant vegetables. Okay. I sow those vegetables. When there is no corn out, I have maize. I plant corn too. So and I rear chickens. So I was doing those two things.
So a bit of a farmer.
A farmer, okay. Yeah. So, but when my dad couldn't pay for the rent then, we moved to the church and friends were just living there, and I started selling water to those people that scavenge so that they can take their bath after working. So when I decided to do music, a friend of mine had told me, you know how to sing. You can't be a studio rat forever. He now took me to a Jota dumpsite. That was the year 2000. Seeing the dump, I said, no, I can't work here. No, he took me there in 1999. I said, no, this place, no. After a year, I thought about it. I was hungry, nothing to do. I was just doing music, and the music was not paying because I don't have a record out there. So I now decided to follow him there. I remember the first money I made was 360 naira.
Okay.
So that was how.
What were you getting out of the dump site?
Yeah, sincerely, we cover a gap in this country. We fill a gap because what we get is being recycled. And the reason why we have scavengers at the dump site is because me and you throw away what they need. If, for example, they have a proper way of packaging those wastes, like organic waste in a place, metal waste, plastic bottles, and employ these people to come and get this thing with different truck.
Okay.
So it will be good. But now, Lagos State generate tons of waste every day, but this thing is being filtered by hands, by we, then at the dump site. So what we get is aluminium, iron, metal, plastic, copper, clothes, shoes, books, bottles, plates, and it's like people comes from the north and buy those things that some people, like for example, if you have a phone that you have tried to work on 2 or 3 times, you throw it away. People comes and buy those things. Plates that if this plate is too old, you throw it away. Spoons. Now these people comes from the north, they buy this thing, they package it. They are like importer in the north, so they are very rich. But if they are in Lagos, they look poor. But why they buy it very little from us?
You mentioned to me earlier on, before we came on air, that you were able to get a measure of education from the books that you found in the dump site. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you see, my life was, the basic education every man need is the primary school. If you got it right in primary school, you got it right forever. I think I got it right in primary school and the little bit of secondary school I went to. And so when I get to the dump, the 3 years I spent at the church, I read a lot of the Bible, and I'm a man who have the heart, who question, why was I born this way? Why is so much poverty? Why is so much people around me are poor, going into crime? Why? So when I start asking those questions, I start finding books, men that have gone through such experience. And this word that really touched me, the word of Socrates, said, man, know thyself. And there's a portion in the Bible where the disciples of Jesus Christ asked Jesus Christ, why do you speak in parables? He says, to the multitude we speak in parables, but to you we reveal the kingdom of the world. So these things touch me that I start asking. So I start reading most of these books that people throw away. Was reading Open Heaven, great books. Like the ones that really touched me most are the classic Greek, the great Greek philosophers, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, and how they take the knowledge from Africa, give it to the West, and make the West who they are with the way they think. And I found that the way I can easily help myself is to change the way I think.
Absolutely.
And so I start seeing myself as a rich man, and this great scientist, Albert Einstein, has said, imagination is more better than education. Start mention, if a man can imagine, he can achieve it. It talks about, he now went in that book's interview he granted, he now mentioned the white borders. They just imagine, and he said he too imagined. So all I do then was I start imagining that I will be in London, but I don't know how. That was my prayer every morning. I will imagine how I want my life to be, but I know one thing, that man cannot do for God what God will do for man, and God will not do for man what man will do for himself. So as I was walking, my aim, the only thing I know that would take me away from poverty was the music. So any little money I found from the dump goes into the music. But anytime I try to work on those songs, like I will save 150 every day. I save 150 naira for a month, and I will go to meet this producer. Sometimes it's funny when you work at the dump, gather your money and go and give it to a producer who works in an AC studio, we're equipped with AC, and you don't know where you are coming from. You charge you some money. So it take me 2 years to finish a song, and after doing the beat, found out that this our young musician will come out with some massive beat again. So this beat is outdated. So it's better for me to go back to a studio to go and redo another beat.
Okay. Now, in the midst of all this, some people come out from BBC. How did they get to meet you? And what was the story they told you to get them to get you to participate in the documentary they made?
Well, I remember that morning, I just came from Ajegule and no work, at the dump. If the machine is not working, it's pulling the waste. Because the truck comes and dump the waste, a caterpillar comes and move the waste to a pit. So if the machine is not working, then we have to just sit around doing nothing. So in that time, I'll be entertaining my friends. I'll just be singing. I was just singing because at the dump, white people normally comes to the dump. They take one or two things and go, they take pictures. Normally, we just see them. So I thought these 4 white guys were just one of those white people. But among the crowd that was moving to my song were these white people. So when I now stop, these white guys now walk up to me and say, "We like what you do. Are you a musician?" I say, "Yes." And then, before then, I've already booked a studio session at Egbeda to record a new song I just wrote called Obuh.
Okay.
So I gave them the address and I told them that my studio session is next week, Tuesday. To my surprise, they came there before me, planted camera. I was very happy. So they followed me to Ajegule. You see, the white people saw something I didn't see. They now told me one of their friends is coming from England. Later, I now found out that was their boss. These white guys, they keep following me everywhere in Ajegule. I'm going for 4 months. But between that 1 or 2 months...
4 months to make a documentary?
Yeah, they were following me just for 4 months.
Okay.
So between that period, they now keep telling me they want to film me working at the dump. I'll just be looking at them. What is this guy saying? Film me working at the dump. Nobody knows I work at the dump. None of my family knows. Just leave it that way. So they keep persuading. It's like God really wanted to come so that I can share my story and tell people where I'm coming from. A lot of people have stories, but God really wants to document my story. And He doesn't want any person to document it. So He used a very big media, very massive media to document my story. So I was chasing these people away. And they keep coming. For like 2 months, I chased them away. Until they now told me that the documentary won't be aired in Nigeria. It will only be aired in England. And nobody knows you in England. And I said, okay, because then I was not on Facebook. I was not on any social media platform. That was how I now allowed them to film me working at the dump.
Now, having filmed you working at the dump, the documentary aired. What happened? Just hold that for a moment because we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about life after the documentary. Viewers, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Watch your favorite Heart of the Matter episodes online at www.theheartofthematter.tv. Also, check out exciting behind-the-scenes photos. Leave your comments and like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to this episode where we've been talking to Mr. Eric Obuh about his personal experiences in life. Eric, BBC made a documentary. The documentary aired in the United Kingdom and generated quite a bit of interest. So how did you first get to know that there was a lot of interest in the documentary, and what was the next step? What happened to you next after that?
April 15, 2010, my phone was just ringing. I was surprised. God have blessed you. God have blessed you. People in the UK have fallen in love with you. That was the message that keep coming. God have blessed you. God have blessed you. I was surprised. He said, they show you in UK. Me in UK, what? It takes like 3 days. The producers of the film now called me and said, you are big in UK. I said, how? He said the documentary was aired and people fall in love with you. So people start calling me, this will call, promise this will promise this will promise this. I was just looking. Till a guy came from UK. He now said, it's my manager. It was the one they are communicating with. He will communicate with me. Was the
Did you
middleman.
have any agreement with him?
We didn't know. I didn't have any agreement with him. So me, I was just watching. Then because of the documentary was so, the fame was very, the noise was, the documentary was generating, now affected me at the dump and the people at the dump. Now, the site manager stirred the boys against me. Said I was the one who made the documentary so popular that I was just showing my life story. And I was surprised because these people, if they come, they park at your office. They met me at the dump. So how come? So then I said they want to chase everybody out of the dump. And I look at it, it's better I go out than they chase all of them out of the dump. And I decide to move and decide to take my destiny in my hands. Not quite 3 days' time, this guy came from UK, did a passport for me. He said, okay, we'll do a video for me, pay me some token, and took me to the UK. At the UK, it was like paper was carrying it. Because the guy organized a show, Cocoa Bar event in London. The promotion was on in UK, Nigerian press were carrying some of the story, and people keep saying you are going to London. And to me, I was nervous going to London. His passport, they now did visa for me. I said, till I get to the plane, if I know I'm going to London. So getting to the plane was a dream come true because I never thought that my first hit would be in London. I was expecting Nigeria. So when I get to London, I saw cameras everywhere at the airport waiting for me. Celebrity who was not prepared for it, who never knew that it was so big in the UK. So in the UK, I did a lot, more than 15 or 20 something interviews, print, radio, TV, everywhere, perform. The joy didn't last long. You know when you expect life to give you orange and life decides to throw lemons on you. And it dawned on me when people start making promises. It dawned on me when I came back to Nigeria. I came back with some little bit of money, and in my neighborhood, Ajegule, everybody was saying, you go to London, what do you bring from else? And everything I brought that I thought I would have sold and be mine, I dashed them off.
So, the door opened for you.
Yes.
You had an opportunity to perform as a musician.
Yes.
You were a celebrity.
Yes.
But you had little in terms of material things to show for it.
Yes.
Who made the money?
Who made the money was the guys who took me to the UK. Now, it's painful, and to me, it's great. If I perform at O2 Arena September 2nd, alongside Tiny Temper, one of the biggest stars in the UK. And the guy said he pays money for me to be on that stage, which I believe. Coming back without nothing. So when coming back to Nigeria, I saw myself on big stage like O2 Arena. What am I going there to do? Why must you pay money for me to be at O2 Arena when I'm coming back to Ajegule without nothing? And so when the thing was happening, repeating itself that way, first, second time, third time I went to London, I decided to say, enough. He gave me a contract. I said, no, I'm not signing this contract. He said, what? The guy said that I will go back to the dump. And I said, okay, if it means that it doesn't take anything from me, at least David was anointed to become king of Israel. He get to a stage that he even acted as a madman. So it's a journey of life. So I said, I won't sign. So people promise, and you get to a stage where some big stars in Nigeria will be using my name to run a show in the UK without contacting me. People will just go there, claim Vocal Slender, miming my song. It's so painful when you know where this guy is coming from and decide to take advantage of him.
What is the lesson that you learned from that?
The lesson I learned first is never trust anyone.
Okay.
And do not believe what people say to you, but just follow your instinct and hope in God.
Yeah.
I too make some mistakes, which I would like people who are listening to learn. The mistake I made was, before the documentary became a hit, I was not intense. I was just happy, living a normal life. Then when the documentary became a hit, I was tense, trying to make the success. Then I stopped listening to my inner self, which I normally do. It took up to 2 years before I now go back to the drawing board. Why did I get it wrong? And now, before God now reveal, this is it. You're trying to cut out from the source.
Okay, now I want to make a comment on some of the things you said.
Yeah.
You said one of the lessons you've learned is never trust anyone.
Yes.
But I want to say to you that trust anyone that God tells you to trust.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So trust God, because
Trust
He will
God.
never fail you.
Yes, yes.
And then trust anyone who God tells you to trust, because you need human beings
Yes.
in order to make this journey of life. And I guess one of the lessons that you've learned is that people want to, there are people out there who are ready to use anybody, exploit anybody in order to make it themselves.
Yes.
Okay, and this guy didn't really care if you go back to the dump because you were not prepared to sign a contract.
Yes.
But let's talk about the future. Where do you go next from here?
I met a guy on Facebook who keep advising me. He's a pharmacist. His name is Ayobade Joko. He's not a manager. He said, okay, what it takes me, as long as God leave it, I won't allow you go back to the dump. I will do the best I can. So then we started. He now said, okay, you have a big name for yourself. Let's start an NGO, which the NGO is called Get to Love Foundation. And when we started it, people support. What we do, I try to teach people my experience of life, perseverance, and this is what I'm going through. And because I'll call some people to speak to people in Ajegule, and then we give out things. People bring used clothes, a lot of items, a lot of people, a lot of things, and you can see the expression, the happiness. Then I remember I visited a friend again in some part of Ajegule, met a young girl that was crying that she won't go to school. I asked why. She said, because she had been going to school with polythene bag, nylon bag, and from primary school, now she's in JSS2. Everybody is laughing at her. She won't go to school. And I said, okay. My laptop was in my bag. I removed my laptop, put it in the girl's nylon bag. I gave her my bag. So my manager asked me, okay, bring something. I said, I said, what about the bag? I said, I've given it out. And I said, why? And I told him the story. And I said, okay, let's start Get to Love back to school. Or we give school bags. And last year we gave about 500 bags to 500 students, well equipped to school. We equipped 500 children back to school.
Get to Love
Foundation.
Back to school. Get to Love Foundation.
But we tagged that one, Get to Love back to school.
Okay.
Under Get to Love, we have Get to Love Valentine's Day, Get to Love Children's Day, Get to Love Education, Get to Love Skills Acquisition, which we did last year.
This is all geared towards helping other people.
Yes.
People who have been trapped
Yes.
in poverty and so on. Now there's a story you told me about your just recently winning a competition on Google. Tell us about that story. We've got a few minutes before we have to round up the episode.
When my manager heard about it on the radio, if you have a story, submit your story. He knows that my story can stand any story in the world. He decided to submit my story. You know what Google did? They took us to Kenya for the award ceremony. Went around Kenya, enjoying ourselves till the ceremony. They announced me the winner. And I said, God, you never fail. This is me who haven't touched million in my life. Is going home with $25,000, which is about 4 or 3 point something million. Means hard work, perseverance, pay. So I thank God that I won it. And first it was BBC. 4 years ago was BBC. Now it was Google. 2 big brands. Big brands. So it means I'm a prospect. God have a vision. God have a purpose for me.
Thank God for your life.
Thank you, sir.
And you definitely have a future.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk to you about a few things after the episode, see whether we are in a position to do anything to help you along on this journey.
Thank you, sir.
Viewers, there's a lot that we can learn from the story of Vocal Slender. We'll be back again with another episode of The Heart of the Matter. Same time, same station, next week. Until then, stay blessed.
Like a thief in the night when the Father shall appear, he don't know the hour nor the minute. He shall return with brimstone and fire upon the land to pay all mankind a visit. Last time a cleaning heart and a pure in heart. Yeah, man, this is Vocal Slender, live and direct.